What if the most direct path to getting what you want is to stop asking for it entirely? We've all experienced this. You make a direct request, only to be met with immediate resistance. You present a logical argument, and it's countered with defensiveness. Yet, some individuals seem to navigate the world with an almost magical ease. They guide situations to their desired outcome, not through force, but through a kind of subtle gravity, making it appear as if everyone else arrived at the decision completely independently. This isn't magic. It's not manipulation in the crude sense. It's about understanding a fundamental, often overlooked quirk of human psychology. The moment you tell someone what to do, you trigger their innate need to defend their autonomy. They push back, not necessarily because they disagree, but because they need to feel in control. Today, we are exploring the subtle art of inverted influence. We will delve into 13 powerful methods to apply this understanding in your career, your relationships, and your life. This is about replacing the struggle for control with the power of quiet attraction. Our journey begins with the foundational principle, the guided selection. Human beings possess a deep-seated, non-negotiable need to defend their autonomy. This is true even when we are uncertain or hesitant. Command us directly, and our instinct is to desire the opposite. History's most effective leaders, whether leading nations or small teams, intuitively understood this dynamic. When seeking loyalty, they didn't issue blunt demands or threats. Instead, they masterfully framed disloyalty as the more perilous, less honorable path. They made the desired choice, the smarter choice, while preserving the individual's feeling of agency. The sophisticated approach, therefore, is not to issue an order, but to architect a selection. You present a curated set of options, all of which exist within boundaries you have already defined. This is the architecture of choice. You create the beautiful illusion of control while quietly determining the playing field. Let's make this practical. Imagine you're a project manager. The direct and often ineffective approach would be, we need to use this software for the project. Get trained on it. Now, consider the approach of guided selection. You might say, team, we have two excellent paths forward. We can adopt software A, which is user-friendly, but has a history of bugs under heavy load. Or software B, which has a steeper learning curve, but offers proven, rock-solid reliability for a project of our scale. I trust your judgment on which will serve us best in the long run. What just happened? You haven't commanded. You've counseled. You've presented the facts, subtly highlighting the drawbacks of the path you don't prefer. You've ended with a statement of trust. And in doing so, they will now not choose your preferred option precisely to demonstrate their independence and good judgment. They own the decision, so they will defend it vigorously. That is the first power of inverted influence. The second method taps into one of the most potent drivers of human desire: scarcity. The quickest way to make someone want something is to position it as slightly out of reach. This isn't just about products. It's about ideas, access, and opportunities. Strategic leaders have applied this for millennia. They would present a new strategy or an alliance, not as an obvious yes, but as something potentially too radical, too demanding, or too advanced for conventional thinking. Suddenly, people don't just accept the idea, they begin to advocate for it. They defend it in meetings. They fight to make it happen. Why? Because they now believe they are part of an elite group challenging the status quo. They think they are defying caution and embracing innovation. The very act of overcoming this perceived barrier, the scarcity of the idea, makes it more valuable to them. In reality, they are passionately advancing a predetermined agenda, all while believing it was their own revolutionary thought. Imagine suggesting a new initiative to your colleagues. Instead of saying, "This is a great idea we should do," try framing it as, "I have this concept, but I'm hesitant to even bring it up. It's quite ambitious and might be too much of a stretch for our current resources. It would require a team that's truly forward-thinking." You'll be amazed at how many people will now work to prove they are forward-thinking enough to belong inside. The third technique is the art of the unassuming proposal. This is about avoiding the application of excessive pressure. Instead of introducing an idea with the force of a sledgehammer, you place it gently on the table, as if you are somewhat uncertain of its full merit. People are naturally resistant to overt dominance and certainty, which can feel like an imposition, but they are curiously drawn to understated confidence, the quiet voice in the room that doesn't need to shout. Picture yourself in a brainstorming session, the forceful approach. "My strategy is the only one that will work. We have to do this." This often creates silent resentment or open rebellion. Now, the unassuming proposal. It might not be the perfect solution, and I'd love to poke holes in it together, but it seems like it could potentially resolve the core issue we're facing with the supply chain. This phrasing is disarming. It invites collaboration instead of demanding submission. When intrigue supplants resistance, a fascinating shift occurs. They frequently become the ones persuading you of the idea's value. They start to see the merits. Defend it from your own feigned skepticism. And ultimately, they become the champions for the very thing you desired from the start. You didn't sell it. You let them discover it. Now, let's combine two methods that work in beautiful harmony: the reflective loop and the power of poise. First, the reflective loop. This is rooted in a simple truth. Individuals trust conclusions they believe are their own, far more than they will ever trust yours. Therefore, the goal is not to talk, but to listen. Here's how it works. If a colleague remarks, "I feel we should proceed cautiously with the client," you don't rebut with, "No, we need to be aggressive." Instead, you respond with the loop. That's a very valid point. A measured, cautious approach could actually enhance our strategic positioning and make us appear more confident. But you've also embedded your own angle by linking cautious to strategic positioning. When they reiterate the concept of strategic positioning, they won't recall that its origin was your subtle redirection. It has become, in their mind, their own sophisticated insight. This loop is made infinitely more powerful when paired with the power of poise. Nothing ignites engagement and curiosity more than perceived self-sufficiency. Composure is incredibly influential because it recalibrates the entire emotional equilibrium of an interaction. If you behave as though you are unaffected, unruffled, and not desperate for a particular outcome, others will begin to project their own investment onto you. They will wonder what you know that they don't. In negotiations, in leadership, in personal dynamics, appearing detached from the result grants you a subtle, unshakable form of authority. It creates a vacuum that others feel compelled to fill. People pursue what does not pursue them. Throughout history, formidable figures would allow others to believe they were the ones earning favor, while silently controlling the very tempo of the interaction through their unwavering poise. Your calm becomes a magnet. The sixth method is a masterclass in reframing conflict. The standard, predictable human reaction to a threat or an ultimatum is to meet it with a counter-threat. This creates a tug-of-war where everyone loses. The inverted reaction dismantles this entirely. Instead of warning, if you take that action, I will respond negatively. You calmly and confidently state, you should absolutely proceed as you see fit. I will adjust my plans and my strategy accordingly. This simple statement reverses the entire psychological dynamic. You have not resisted. You have not given them a fight to prepare for. Now, the other person is left in a state of disequilibrium. Equanimity. Why isn't he angry? Why isn't she worried? What does she know that I don't? Why is there no conflict? Their mind, expecting a wall, encounters open space, and it struggles to interpret this lack of resistance. In that void of expectation, they often begin to second-guess their own action. Frequently, they will modify their behavior not because you forced them, but simply to restore a predictable, understandable interaction. You have controlled the situation by refusing to be controlled by it. Now we delve deeper into the psychological realm with the emotional echo and the identity lever. The emotional echo is not about mimicking someone's words. It's about mirroring the underlying, often unspoken, sentiment they are projecting. This is a dance of emotional calibration. When they are agitated and frantic, you become the calm, steady presence. Doesn't mock their frenzy. It offers a sanctuary from it. When they are receptive and open, you are engaging and expansive. When they are withdrawn, you give them space. This reflective behavior disrupts their negative emotional loops and creates a powerful sense of safety. Understand the music of their mood, not just the lyrics of their words. This accelerates the formation of deep trust, and once that rapport is firmly established, guiding them becomes a natural extension of the relationship. They are open to your influence because they feel profoundly and genuinely understood. This trust allows you to employ the identity lever, which is perhaps one of the most elegant methods. Every person maintains a cherished self-concept, a story they tell themselves about who they are. I'm a problem solver. I'm a loyal friend. You don't dictate their actions. You appeal to this internal image. For instance, you don't declare, You are wrong about the sales data. Instead, you lever their identity. You're typically so insightful with data analysis. This particular interpretation seems uncharacteristic of your usual sharp eye. What follows is not an argument with you, but an internal reconciliation within them. Their ego is now motivated to rectify the discrepancy, not because you instructed them, but because they need to align their actions with their valued self-perception. You guide them by engaging their own identity, making them the hero of their story who must correct their own course. As we progress, we encounter methods of subtle disruption and strategic sacrifice. The seed of uncertainty and the strategic yield. Sometimes, persuasion isn't about building up your own argument. Gently introducing a single, thoughtful doubt into the foundation of theirs. This is the seed of uncertainty. You aren't directly contesting their belief. You're converting their absolute certainty into quiet contemplation. Imagine a debate where someone states a fact with absolute confidence. The direct challenge, "That's not true," creates a battle. The seeding of uncertainty is far more subtle. I was recalling a report that presented a slightly different nuance. Stated your fact. You've simply introduced a maybe. You've planted a seed. Once they begin internally justifying their stance to themselves, searching for evidence to reconfirm their belief, your objective is largely achieved. You've moved the conflict from between the two of you to within their own mind. This is perfectly complemented by the strategic yield. Tacticians and generals throughout history would retreat on a minor front, fostering overconfidence and complacency in their opponents. When someone believes they have triumphed, their vigilance decreases and their defenses come down. That is the moment when true influence can be introduced unnoticed. In your own life, if you encounter someone particularly resistant, try genuinely agreeing with them on a small, non-critical point. "You know, you're right. I hadn't considered that aspect. Thank you for pointing it out." Observe how rapidly they become more amenable, their guard lowered, now more open to your subsequent, more important suggestions. You yielded a battle to win the war. Our final trio of methods deals with perception and power. To make your proposal appear exceptionally attractive, you don't just present it in isolation. You juxtapose it against a clearly inferior alternative. This is the contrast effect. You illuminate the shortcomings, risks, and chaos of the other path. When framed this way, your desired outcome emerges as the only sane, rational, and peaceful selection. Peace becomes immensely appealing when contrasted with the turmoil of conflict. A reliable partner becomes invaluable when contrasted with a flaky one. You guide through comparison rather than through command. You are not telling them what to choose. You are simply making one choice look undeniably better by showing them the ugliness of the other. And what gives you the space to create this contrast? The strength of silence. In a world addicted to noise, the person who can comfortably hold silence holds immense power. Most people find extended quiet deeply unsettling. In a negotiation, after making a point, just wait. In a conversation, after being asked a difficult question, pause. They will rush to fill the void you create. They will explain further. They will make concessions. They will rationalize their position, all of which grants you information and leverage. Remaining silent allows their own words to hang in the air, sometimes creating the constraints that bind them. Speaking less cultivates intrigue. People will project their own fears, assumptions, and hopes onto your silence. And in that mental space, they inadvertently grant you influence over the narrative. Your silence isn't empty. It's full of potential. We arrive at our 13th and final method. This brings us full circle, back to the human need for autonomy and self-validation. The most compelling form of guidance is often gentle, almost imperceptible resistance. Tell someone this concept might be too complex to grasp immediately, and they will strive with all their might to comprehend it. Suggest a potential soft limitation. I'm not sure if we have the resources for that ambitious a goal, and they will work diligently to overcome it, to prove you wrong, all while believing the motivation was entirely their own. You haven't commanded, you've challenged, and a challenge is an invitation to prove one's worth, which is an offer few can refuse. So, what is the common thread that runs through all 13 of these methods? It is a profound alignment with human nature, rather than an opposition to it. These principles recognize that pride, the desire for self-determination, and the deep-seated need to maintain a positive self-image are frequently more powerful motivators than pure logic or direct instruction. When you enable people to protect their dignity while moving in a desired direction, you won't need to persuade them overtly. They will persuade themselves. About being the loudest voice in the room. Reflect for a moment. How often has someone gained your cooperation by appearing curiously indifferent? How many times has a supervisor or a partner allowed you to choose a foreign, pre-selected option, making you feel smart and independent? These occurrences are not random. They are applications of nuanced psychological insight. The ultimate objective here is not control, but comprehension. It is to cease arguing and to begin framing, to stop pursuing and to start attracting. Your most potent asset in any interaction is a quiet, unassailable assurance. The instant you visibly reach for control, you often lose it. The moment you dictate an action, you remind others of their power to refuse. But when they are convinced the idea originated in their own mind, they will defend it, nurture it, and fight for it as if it were their own child. That is the apex of inverted influence. It's subtle, it's efficient, and it is remarkably effective. The fundamental drivers of the human heart haven't changed. People still value their autonomy above almost all else. They still seek the feeling of self-direction. And when you learn to work with that innate, powerful desire, you can navigate the most complex situations with grace, all while others believe, with full conviction, that they are in the lead. This is about mastering understanding, employing deception. It's about making your guidance feel intuitive. Once you internalize this, you stop struggling for authority and begin attracting it naturally. If this perspective on the subtle forces that shape our interactions resonated with you, one of these methods to create more harmony and effectiveness in your life, then please let us know by liking this video. For deeper explorations into the psychology of influence, leadership, and personal mastery, subscribe to Winds of Thought. Share on this journey. Thank you for watching. Remember, the most powerful influence is often the one that is never seen.